meanwhile, viewers, just to give you a recap, in a landmark ruling from Dhaka today, former Bangladeshi Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina was sentenced to death by the Special International Crimes Tribunal. The court found the former leader guilty of crimes against humanity stemming from her alleged role in the deadly July Revolution student uprising in 2024. The crackdown, remember, led to her resignation and eventual flight from the country. The tribunal's ruling states Hasina was convicted for incitement, ordering the killings and failing to prevent atrocities against civilian protesters. Her former Home Minister Asaduzzaman Khan was also sentenced to death. Both were tried and convicted in absentia. Sheikh Hasina is currently living in exile in India. The current interim government, led by Professor Mohammad Yunus, has officially submitted an urgent request to the Indian government demanding the extradition of both Sheikh Hasina and her former minister to face their sentences in Bangladesh. Hasina was ousted after more than 15 years in power, has condemned the verdict as politically motivated and a product of a rigged court. Security remains extremely tight across Dhaka amidst fears of political unrest following this high-profile judgment. Joining me on the broadcast, Ambassador Bhaswati Mukherjee, former diplomat, Dr. Swati Jindal Garg, AOR of the Supreme Court, Pathikrit with us as well, Joyita Basu, editor of the Sunday Guardian. Let me begin with Ambassador Mukherjee. Ambassador Mukherjee, same questions to you, ma'am. I have to understand from you, this was an expected verdict. We didn't expect Sheikh Hasina to get a fair trial in Bangladesh, obviously. But now what, ma'am? What next?
Well, it's very simple. The verdict of a kangaroo court does not in any way influence the outcome of an extradition treaty. This was a kangaroo court. Secondly, the regime of Mohammad Yunus is illegal because in the Bangladesh constitution, there is no provision to have such an arrangement beyond a period of 6 months, which he has more than exceeded. Thirdly, as Mr. Mahesh Jethmalani pointed out very correctly, she was represented by a lawyer that she did not recognize. Fourthly, crimes against humanity are not decided in this rushed manner. It is the International Criminal Court which decides crimes against humanity. Bangladesh is not a state party to the International Criminal Court. No system of appeal has been allowed in this verdict, and it has been rushed through when everyone is aware that in Bangladesh, even simple cases take 1 or 2 years to be completed. In other words, it's a kangaroo court whose verdict was expected. It does not change anything as far as India is concerned. Sheikh Hasina is our guest in India. The extradition treaty does not at all apply in this case because the death penalty has been pronounced by a court set up by a regime that has no legitimacy in a process that was rushed and whose outcome was known. In other words, when they could not assassinate or murder her while she was still there because she left in time, now they seek to extradite her and possibly torture her and then put her to death. So as far as we are concerned, it changes nothing, nor does it impact India-Bangladesh relations, because this Mohammad Yunus is not going to be there for long. There is an incessant demand within Bangladesh to have free and fair elections. They have already said that the Awami League cannot participate. That is going to lead to huge protests. And in fact, they should reflect that how the father of the nation, Mujibur Rahman, when he was in Pakistani custody, was made every day to dig his own grave, little by little, little by little. This is the country which emanated from a huge genocide and murder of their freedom fighters. And now they want to put the daughter of the father of the nation through a criminal court and ask India to extradite her to face a certain and horrible death. I think that they are indeed foolish in their pronouncements. It's not going to affect us at all. And Mohammad Yunus, in any case, is not there forever. He has to face, and it has to be free and fair elections. And he is very afraid that even if he bans the Awami League, the BNP will win and not the Jamaat. And India has dealt with BNP for many
Yes.
years. It's not a problem for us to deal with BNP either. So we'll wait and see. But this changes nothing for us. We are certainly not going to agree to anything from this illegitimate and illegal regime set up by Mahmoud Yunus, the so-called Nobel laureate, who, as Mr. Jethmalani rightly pointed out, is funded by Soros. Everybody knows where his money comes from. Everybody knows where his family is. Everybody knows how he is where he is. We don't have to bother either about Yunus or about the verdict as far as India is concerned. Devika.
Okay, Joyita, your thoughts on the same as well. As far as the verdict is concerned, like I said, no surprises there that Bangladesh has sentenced Sheikh Hasina to death. That's something that she was in fact expecting. But as far as our relations now going forward with Bangladesh are concerned, this will always be somewhere a sticking point. How do we then deal with creating some sort of a balance? Because ultimately it's our neighborhood, right? We can't just completely turn a blind eye to Bangladesh and say, well, they can do whatever they want.
Well, the thing is, you see, we don't have to turn a blind eye, but I think it's time to show some teeth. You know, I mean, that is the least that we can do. We can make it very clear that, listen, we are watching, and whatever you are doing, it kind of defeats and defies.
Joyita, my apologies there. There's some audio issue. I'll come back to you in just a moment. If we can just fix that quickly, please. Let me, on that note, then bring in Pathikrit into the conversation. Pathikrit, your thoughts on the same. How does India now deal with this slightly delicate situation? I'm not talking about the current Yunus government. We are hopefully expecting that there will be elections sooner rather than later in Bangladesh. And if the government... Pathikrit, can you hear me?
Yeah, now I can hear you. Well, I think India doesn't need to do anything. There is no reason to be bothered. There's no reason to think that, okay, we should be concerned about it. It's just that you just need to ignore it because it is an illegal government, which Ambassador Mukherjee also mentioned. Secondly, you know, I would have been surprised if death sentence had not been given. I think there is absolutely nothing surprising that she had been given a death sentence. And ironically, they actually, the date of her conviction or declaration of the verdict was 13th of November. They postponed it to today, which is 17th of November, and it is being mentioned in the social media that today is supposedly her marriage anniversary. So perhaps it was deliberately postponed to 17th so that it can coincide with her marriage anniversary. And secondly, this ICT that they have, International Crimes Tribunal, I don't know what's international about it, but it was actually created in 2008 or 9 for, trying the perpetrators of the 1971 genocide. And it's kind of strange that Dr. Yunus is using that same tribunal to punish or project Sheikh Hasina as a very big criminal. That is what they're trying to do. Probably this would be used as a pretext to justify the ban on Awami League. Look, I think the situation from here on in Bangladesh is going to be very, very fluid, volatile. It is already very volatile. India's concern right now is not that what we should do, whether if they give an request for extradition. The concern is how do we deal with the challenges of terrorism that has now spread its tentacles, and how Pakistan and Turkey are using Bangladesh as a platform and a theater for launching allegedly a large number of terror attacks in India. There is a person called Saifullah Saif, who is one of the top elite commanders. In the last week of October, he gave a speech in Pakistan where he said that Hafiz Saeed is not sitting idle. They are working to ensure that attacks on India happens from Bangladesh. There's an article that came out in Deccan Chronicle on 15th of November. It has been very, vividly explained there. So I think right now Sheikh Hasina would remain in India, and there is absolutely no reason to think that just because this verdict has come, so she should move to another country. The bigger problem for Bangladesh is that it is today, from today onwards, it's going to be a deeply divided country. It's already divided. The fissures are going to be very, very profound. And I think even BNP might not be happy with this verdict. The reason is this. The reason is that this is going to generate and garner a large amount of sympathy for Sheikh Hasina. Remember, it was Dr. Muhammad Yunus who a few months back in United States during a function in Clinton Foundation, while introducing Mahfouz Alam, who is the head of Hizbut Tahrir in Bangladesh, said that whatever happened in July, August 2024 was meticulously planned. He used the word meticulously planned. And then he introduced and they said that this is the person who did it. Now, if that is the kind of planning that has been done by the stooge,
yes,
imagine that this verdict was inevitable. So, and I think the government of India knows exactly what is to be done, so we have nothing to worry. Back to you.
Okay, Joyita, hopefully that connection has been sorted now. You were making a point as well on the same.
Yeah, the point is, you see, we all know what sort of a court verdict it is. It is a kangaroo court. It doesn't have any legal, I would say, validity, because till date, as Sheikh Hasina has pointed out, she hasn't resigned. So, and apart from that, this particular government that has imposed itself, the interim government that has imposed itself on Bangladesh, according to the Bangladesh constitution, inside 90 days of one government being removed, here of course undemocratically removed, there was kind of a quote unquote coup. Inside 90 days elections must be held and a new government must be put in place, but that has not happened in Bangladesh. So, what is the legality of this court verdict, number one? And I mean, that itself, I would say India can use that point itself to just reject it. But more importantly, what India needs to do now is, as I mentioned, India needs to show some teeth. You know, we are being wild. Okay, I understand that they are our neighbors, we need to have good relations with them, but the fact of the matter is that Bangladesh is also turning out to be a terror factory. And if we think that Bangladesh, this particular Yunus guy, as long as he is there, he comes from a family of collaborators. He comes from a family which was close to basically they were the Razakars, you know, the Pakistani stooges. They were part of that clique that was oppressing Bangladesh in up to the 1970s, until India ensured that Bangladesh got independence. So, it is but natural that he will take Pakistan towards that direction where they align with Pakistan. So, why aren't we, you know, so silent about all these things? Come down harshly on it, reject it, and just make a clear statement that no, Hasina, we are not letting Sheikh Hasina go. What is the proof that you have? Because you see, whatever they are accusing Hasina of, Yunus is guilty of much worse. Think of, you know, what happened after the coup last year, 2024. Yeah. Think of the pogrom that happened, think of the genocidal killing of political leaders, political cadre, you know, people who secular people, Hindus and other minority groups. It was a complete genocide. So, I mean, if we are talking about Hasina is guilty of that, Yunus is guilty of that many more times. So, I think frankly it is time India read the riot act to this particular rogue guy who is sitting there as the caretaker of the government, he and his rogue regime.
Okay, all right. I want to bring in Dr. Swati Jindal into the conversation as well. Dr. Jindal, just from a legal perspective, I want to understand, before I come back to some interesting points raised by both Pathakrita and Joyita, as well as far as Bangladesh becoming a terror factory is concerned. I want to understand from you, legally, what are the options in front of Sheikh Hasina and before the government right now, strictly basis the extradition treaty we hold with Bangladesh?
Look at the extradition treaty, the India-Bangladesh extradition treaty. Article 8 of that treaty gives us enough grounds for the refusal of the extradition request that has been made. Now, this Article 8 is quite clear on the fact that any request can be refused on the grounds of the fact that an accusation that has been made, which is not in good faith or in the interest of justice. It can also be refused in case of military offences, which are not in the category of an offence under the general criminal law. So, n number of grounds are already available to India to refuse this extradition request. The fact that India has still not acted, even though some might say it's too early to act, but the fact that India's stance is quite clear, as we all know it. It's a unanimous sort of observation made even by the learned speakers today, that India need not worry. Sheikh Hasina has been an ally to India for the past 15 years of her reign, and talking about how our neighbors are all turning into terror groups. We are surrounded by Pakistan, Bangladesh, so on and so forth. As of now, India has to just wait and watch, because what has happened now today is that even if this so-called International Crimes Tribunal has come out with a so-called judgment, the bona fide of that judgment is questionable to all, be it certain neutral foreign watchers, so to say, be it India. The question here today is whether this tribunal was unbiased, and we all know that is not the case. The question as to what is the stance or what is the position of Yunus today, we all know that he stands nowhere, himself being part of an interim government that is crying out for help. So considering that the elections, the so-called elections, hopefully they do happen in February of the coming year. Now, if and when they do happen, it remains to be seen what the Awami League, how the Awami League is going to perform. But all said and done, I have no doubt that the Indian support is going to continue to stand with Sheikh Hasina during this time.
So while we will continue to stand with Sheikh Hasina, you know, the concept of a wait and watch is a little bit unsettling to me. And I want to bring in Ambassador Mukherjee back into this, because Ambassador Mukherjee, Sheikh Hasina was very instrumental in cracking down on a lot of anti-India terror groups that were operating from Bangladeshi soil. Is there now a fear that because of a strained relationship with this new regime, that could lead to a possible resurgence of cross-border insurgency or terrorism that directly threatens India's security? What do we do about that aspect?
So at all. We not only have the entire BSF there, we are also we've also made certain there are certain developments on the boundary that I don't want to discuss on national television. We also have the Indian Army there. There's a whole battalion of the Indian Army there. Nobody is going to cross. In fact, we have pushed across that border illegal Bangladeshi immigrants from all over India who tried to squeeze in and bought Aadhaar cards and thought that they could blend into seamlessly into India. We have pushed people back. We have not allowed anybody in except genuine Awami League leaders who were facing death if they stayed. A few of them have been allowed in. We are fully in control of the situation. Our concern, frankly, is to ensure the security of the chicken's neck. What's happening in Myanmar, there will be elections there. We have many other concerns. As far as the India-Bangladesh border is concerned, it is totally secured on our side. As far as this so-called kangaroo court is concerned, it does not meet up to the standards of international humanitarian law or human rights law. It will never be accepted as a proper court by the UN. We have absolutely, I agree with Swati, that there are not just what she's read out, but there are one or two other clauses too, where in any case, in an extradition treaty, Devika, you do not extradite people who are going back to face certain deaths imposed on them by a kangaroo court. Let me tell you that when we brought back Abu Salem, and I was Joint Secretary in MEA, he was in Portugal. We have death penalty. Advani ji had to give it in writing that when Abu Salem and his girlfriend come back, death penalty will not be imposed upon them. It was on that basis that Abu Salem was extradited. I remember it very well myself. So, in all extradition treaties, if the person being extradited is going back to face a terrible death imposed by a kangaroo court, the country concerned, the state party concerned, that's India, is fully and totally justified in rejecting it. I am sure there will be a statement at a particular moment of time over the next couple of days, but one can rest assured that what we are more concerned about is that there will be huge internal uprisings within Bangladesh, and we have to take care that it doesn't spill over across the border, so that we are not faced with the kind of situation I remember in 71 when the whole of Sialdah railway station was like a massive refugee camp, 10 million refugees, which India managed on its own with no humanitarian assistance at all. We have to ensure that the internal uprising within Bangladesh after this verdict remains within the borders of Bangladesh and does not spill over into India. That is our concern, not about extradition, not about handing over Sheikh Hasina. That is out of the question, and we are certainly never going to do it, Devi.
Right, absolutely. On that note, I've run out of time, but I thank all of our guests for joining us on the broadcast to take that conversation forward. We leave it there and slip into a very short break.